My name is Brady Noski.
And I'm Austin Morales, and you're watching The Inner Gamer On.
And today we'll be talking about why Amazon Game Studios is struggling to find a hit. They are having a lot of internal issues. Apparently, they've probably hired wrong. They have done some things that they shouldn't have been doing, all that stuff and more. So we're going to talk about what's going on with Amazon, if they have the ability to continue to succeed, and will they ever bring a game out? Because they haven't yet, and that sucks. So let's talk about it.
And as always, if you enjoyed this content, please like, subscribe, and bang that bell, because we know you want to. Thanks.
Google failed. Amazon might also be failing because they started a game studio a couple years ago. And according to Bloomberg, Jason Schreier, of course, is the one that first brought this article out in the world. But you sent me a video about it, which dove into it as well. But like, there's just a lot of stuff going on with Amazon, and they're just not able to make. They're struggling with making good games, and some reports have come out about like why it's been a challenge. One of which is they put somebody in charge of the game studios that doesn't make games. Like he was in the book section of the website. That's what he was working on. He was a manager there, and then they were like, "Hey, you can work on games division, right? That'd be great. Let's throw you over there. Books and games.
You're making money here. Go make money over here for us. Thank you."
But they've had two games that they've been trying to push. One of which was Crucible that they worked on. It was a hero shooter. It came out. Like 2 or 3 months later, they went back into beta because it turns out it wasn't great and needed a bunch of balancing issues, and then they killed the project. Now they have the other game that they've been working on for a long time called New World, which is a big, huge, massive MMO, hugely ambitious, looks really good. But I've heard reports that like there's some fundamental issues with the quest lines and things. Like the game is beautiful, apparently. Like the game play is interesting. The world, the combat's cool. Like a lot of things are good for it, but it just doesn't have a good, solid like quest progression, I think is what I was understanding with it. It doesn't have like the legs to keep people coming back like a game like WoW would do. But then there's also a whole bunch of internal stuff that's been going down, like bro culture within the community. Or within the studio, the fact that they don't give enough support and credit to females, like they can't rise up as much as males can inside of the company.
He ignored much of these game developers' advice when trying to like make a game.
Yeah,
you know, I know he's in charge, but you got to listen to the people under you, especially the people who are in the trenches, so to say. You know, they know what they're doing, and you don't. You're not a video game person. Why would you even?
Yeah. Amazon hires experts from various industries, but they expect those folks to adopt the Amazon way. So it's like, it sounds like they were trying to bring people into a company that had already established a culture, whatever that culture might be, and have them fit into that culture rather than like giving them the freedom to develop their own culture for this new type of thing that didn't exist before with Amazon.
Right.
They said that the game studios even established their own separate set of principles, although the credos frequently change and sometimes were in tension with one another. Each game should accommodate as many players as possible, yet also be fun to play solo at the same time. And they also were expected to be huge financial successes on a Call of Duty scale, but also innovative and unlike anything the world has ever seen before. These seemed like a surefire way to not release anything, because it's like these are overly ambitious goals.
You'll never make it.
Yeah. And they weren't given a financial incentive to release anything either. Most big game companies pay staff bonuses based in part of the critical and commercial response to their games. But Amazon's stock plan only rewards employees for time spent at the company. That led some to prioritize job preservation over anything else. They say they watch colleagues avoid arguments and only seek to placate bosses even when they have disagreed. Even though the Amazon principle is have backbone, disagree, and commit. Interesting. So...
it's another leader who just can't lead because it's not his forte for this. Like, why? Like, yeah, there has to be a balance. Like we said this before, plenty of times, I'm sure. It had to have a balance between the business guy and a creative guy. And you gotta let each other do your thing and then come together to try to find the right solution. Because obviously you can't do too much creative because you can create forever and then waste all of the money. And you can't be so focused on money where you can't create. And so we have an imbalance here, and this guy just doesn't even see it because he thinks he's probably the shit or whatever.
Well, it's not even this guy. It's just the whole entire leadership team that they have in there. I mean, he's one dude that was placed wrong, but it's like I read a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins that was talking about this one philosophy of like making sure you have the right people in the right seat on the bus. So like the analogy is that you could have a fantastic company, and the difference between a good company and a great company is that you have people there that have talents and abilities and stuff like that. But the thing that could make you a good company versus a great company is that you simply just have a person that should be in this seat versus that seat, but you have them staying in this seat. Right. So you need to find what their strengths are and make sure to move them in the right place. Because it could be that it looks like all of my employees are shit, but in reality, they're not shit. It's that your management doesn't really know where their best value is within that company. So if you can figure out how to overcome that and find what seat they should be in, find out what those strengths are, and make sure to leverage those, you can kind of push yourself up to the next level. And it sounds like they're not able to actually, they're not doing that appropriately. And it also sounds like it's kind of a mess. I mean, it's like they're shooting in the dark, hoping someone's going to stick. Yeah. And working really hard on these really big, ambitious titles, but it's like they need focus. And I think the focus is not quite there. I mean, like Crucible sounded really good, but there wasn't a clear, like, hey, this is why this game is badass. It just felt like it's like, let's try to be all the other hero shooters that are out there with some other mixed elements and stuff like that. And New World is intriguing to me because it's like got such a big, like, dynamic like world about it that like changes based on player contribution, and I thought that was really interesting. But now that it's getting further and further along, I feel like the ambition was way too high, and it's going to end up falling short and dying. I'm
trying to think of like, you know, all these great companies who are AAA titles now were once indie studios, and it took them probably several tries at making a game to understand everything completely from beginning to end. And yes, I'm sure they've, you know, all these people have backgrounds in video game making, but to get to a point where there's just so much going on because you're such a big company, I was thinking like maybe just why don't you just pick up a studio or like a small group who's trying to make a really awesome game. But that also is not going to work either, because I assume these people have great ambition, and if they work hard enough, they'll make this great game. It doesn't have to be like a giant game, but like something small, like an indie title. But at the same, like they don't know the ins and outs. They haven't made the mistakes to really be put in a position where it's like, hey, you have a lot of money, now take control of a team and make it happen. Like that's just not going to work out well either. So you need someone who has some experience in the industry, yet isn't at a point where they're doing their own thing. Like they should find someone who's in the middle who can come in and be like, I had experience in this. I have a clear goal and game that I want to make, and let's make it happen. But I feel like that's just so hard now. Yeah. There's so many people on either side. There's like, I don't know who's in the middle. And those people who are in the middle, I mean, we're in a time period where indie developers make a name for themselves, and they don't need technically to be, you know, go to someone like Amazon to make a game. Like, they have enough experience to make it happen on their own now. Yeah. So it's tricky.
Or have smaller publishing houses that give them more control and stuff like that. I mean, I feel like
too.
You know, Amazon probably should have gone the route of like being a publishing company first to learn just like, I mean, the reason why they bought Whole Foods, I mean, not to like take it super off topic, but they bought Whole Foods to learn how the grocery industry worked. So rather than them having to learn the grocery industry themselves and figure out how that whole process was, they were like, let's buy Whole Foods. We'll learn how it operates because they're a successful company, and then we'll expand our grocery business on with e-commerce and all that different kind of stuff. That was a smart move, I think. Yeah, so like they bought Whole Foods, and the reason why they bought Whole Foods was because they wanted to understand the grocery business. And in doing that, it's like, I mean, that was a smart move for them because now they were able to figure out how the grocery business worked. They didn't have to like reinvent the wheel. They should have done that at the Amazon Game Studios. Instead of like, hey, let's build a team, let's just buy not Gearbox, but buy a studio and then learn how the inner workings are and then expand said studios. Like become like what Microsoft's doing. Instead of them like, I mean, they have studios, but they're like buying their own studios and just like letting them figure out how to do the things.
Even better.
And that's the way I think they should do it. But
even better.
So we'll see if New World ever becomes a thing. Probably not. But if it does, cool. If not, I think Amazon should just give up on the games business and focus on other things for a little while.
Or do what you said.
Which was?
Buy a game studio.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Or buy a game studio. Yeah, exactly. Who knows? Maybe they'll be like pick up that studio from earlier we talked about, Embracer Group.
That'd be cool.
Buy them.
Yeah.
They got 52 studios around 40 countries, so why not?